Faraz Shauketaly.
And a very good evening to you and a warm welcome to Newsline Live. Now then, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to remind you, and I'm sure most people will have heard of what I'm about to say, but let's go back down memory lane. Laurel and Hardy were a comedy duo act during the early classical Hollywood era of American cinema, consisting of Englishman Stan Laurel and American Oliver Hardy. Remember that? Laurel and Hardy. Now they had a pretty famous catchphrase, and it looks like it's our turn now, collectively, the whole of Sri Lanka, to say, now here's another fine mess you've got me into. And that's not Laurel and Hardy phoning me, but you know, it's the same thing. Now here's another fine mess you've got me into it. Me in this case is the Republic, the sovereign people of Sri Lanka. Ladies and gentlemen, my guest this evening is a former Minister of Petroleum, he's Member of Parliament. He's out in the cold though, and he's here with me, and not to get warm, but to tell me a few things or two. Chandima Virakali. Very good evening to you, Mr. Virakali. Thank you.
Good evening, Faraz. Thank you very much for inviting me.
You're absolutely welcome. Now, a few days ago, maybe a week ago, you pointed out that although it is claimed that there is a dollar crisis, a shortage of dollars, you couldn't but help notice that there were imported apples, grapes, imported alcohol, in the supermarket shelves. And it appears to me, Mr. Virakodi, that in this case, without the dollars and all these things coming in, it appears that the political henchayas have come to the fore, all on their own, at the expense of the many, the sovereign people of Sri Lanka.
Well, it's completely due to mixing up of priorities, as I see. Not only those that you mentioned, like if you go to a departmental store, any top brand is available in Sri Lanka as of now.
Is that old stock, do you think?
I don't know. I don't think this. You can't have such a lot of stocks because those are designs. Designs go.
Yes, they come
outdated,
and go.
So you can't have a lot in store, and no businessman would do it. But unfortunately, the topmost priority, diesel and petrol, which we had even during the time of war, we were able to not only have such for our consumption, but the CPC and LIOC could provide diesel and petrol for the LTT, the time of fighting. They couldn't import from anywhere else. The remotest hideout of the LTT had enough stocks of fuel available.
Their own fuel, their own stock.
Their own stocks bought out of CPC and LIOC filling stations. They didn't import directly. But even that time we had. This is for the first time, as I can understand in our history, we don't have access to fuel.
So why this crisis then? How did it happen?
I think it's a mix-up of mainly mismanagement, mixing up of priorities, because I know every week there is a stock review meeting at the Ministry of Power and Energy.
Yeah. Okay.
So at that meeting, the meeting is chaired by the Minister and CPC, CPSTL, CEB, and representatives of all power plants, including private power plants, are all present at that meeting. And the requirements are considered, requests are considered, and based on the requirement, a forecast and a plan for 3, 4, 5 months ahead is planned. So had there been an issue, there is ample time to resolve it. As I understand what has happened is, there had been an arbitrary decision to stop importation of fuel oil.
An arbitrary decision?
No, because
made by whom?
Whoever the deciding authorities, there was a rift between, I mean, it's like for decades, there is a ongoing debt issue between Sri Lankan Airlines and CEB that the CPC has been having.
So it's like a floating debt.
It's a floating debt, but you know, the CPC, CEB has to pay millions of dollars, but one has to understand it's also another state arm. So as a result of non-payment, the CPC has decided not to import. And the once fuel oil is not imported for the consumption of power plants, then the power generation has to come to a standstill.
So that's sabotage.
I don't understand. I mean, why such decision was taken? Because there are separate ministries, but at the same time,
of course,
but there is a cabinet. But there is a government.
Yes, but now what's the effect of all this? Does that mean
no,
that
finally now what has happened is the diesel that has been imported for consumption of the people, various other industries are being now supplied to the CB. So as a result of that, a fear psychosis was created among people, and people again got panicked and they started topping up their tanks.
Indeed.
Even the vehicles that are parked at home are topped up, and industries that require, say if they require 100,000 liters a week, and if they have a capacity of 5,000 storage, now they have all stored 5,000 liters for the requirement of 1,000. As a result of that, there has been a shortage created on the other hand. So this is absolute mismanagement, as I see.
Yes, it's so there is also what I would call a priority deficit. Would you agree that there is a priority deficit?
Absolutely. That is why that's that's why I said during the time of LTT war, not only that we had enough fuels, even we were able to supply them. They never actually
indirectly.
I mean, they bought out of our filling stations, so they had access to fuel. But now you don't get fuel in Colombo 7. Leave aside the remote areas. This type of a crisis had not been there for centuries. Ever since consumption of diesel, petrol was started in this country.
You're from Gaul, right?
Yes.
So that's almost perilously close to Tangol and Medamulana and all that. You know, Rajapaksa land, not Tomorrowland, Rajapaksa land. Do you think there's fuel cuts there?
Across the country, just a little while ago, I got a call from Hangama, from a person. He said now these days, paddy farmers, they're harvesting their cultivation and they have to use machinery. So he was telling me our machines are stopped halfway, and a Hangama fuel filling station is not giving them stocks. So he wants me to tell whoever authority to give the farmers priority. Whom can I tell? How can I do that?
Of course, and I got a call yesterday from a dealer hot in the deep down the south coast of Sri Lanka, who told me almost the same thing that my guest this evening, Mr. Chanimavira Kodi, is saying, which is that he said that there wasn't a drop of oil at the Matara depot. at this term, the main distribution.
Even the highway now, our highway has only one filling station.
Yeah.
There wasn't a drop. Yesterday, when I was coming back to Colombo the day before, it was all closed down, and there were so many vehicles parked outside who were returning from wherever down south. So such issues are there. People are really faced with a lot of hardship due to non-availability.
Where does the fault lie then?
Once again, mismanagement, not being able to foresee what the priorities are.
You know, everybody comes here and they engage in this complaint, which is that the government is mismanaging, that there is a priority deficit, and there's all sorts of deficits going on.
Yeah.
But do you have a solution?
Well, I think you should get the Minister of Finance here, get him to sit in my seat, and ask him what he has in mind, what he has in store as plans, at least as 7 or 10 instant
sort of
solutions or plans or programs in order to resolve this crisis. But you shouldn't only have him. I think you must invite the leader of the opposition for him to come out, because this is not a time to play politics. This is the time where we all should get united and contribute our proposals and our knowledge in order to resolve this crisis. This is not a time to be criticizing alone. And we must get JVP's Anukumar Dissanayaka, get him to sit here and ask him what his solutions are to resolve this crisis immediately. Leave aside the mid-term, long-term plans, and of course you have to ask them what their mid-term and long-term plans also. Otherwise, we will not only suffer today, we will not only suffer for another 3 years of this government, but another 5 years of a future government.
So a total of 8 years.
8 years. For 8 years, we will, all of us will suffer. For the best, I think it's as media, invite them, ask them what the solution is.
I'm going to ask you a bit of advice.
Yeah.
But we don't pay for this, right? You know, I'm not going to pay you for it.
Yeah.
So I'll ask you, do you remember in the not too distant past, there was something called Viatmaga?
Yeah.
What's happened to the experts from Viatmaga?
I think that you have to ask from them, because some of them are elected in parliament as well, and that organization doesn't seem to exist.
I think this is all a case of Laura and Hardy. You know, Naveksha is producing this evening, and Harshna. So maybe we should ask them to change the title and say, you know, Sri Lanka, the latest hit from Laura and Hardy, because, you know, as they keep saying on the Laura and Hardy thing, now here's another fine mess you've got me into. This is a fine mess that the Viatmagas got us into, because they sold a pretty good story.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say, but it is their responsibility as well. Now they can't say, okay, we have tried, but let them come forward, because the prior to last elections, Saubhagya Dakma proposal was brought before the people, and as it appears, a lot of people thought that it's a practical solution for Sri Lankan crisis, Sri Lankan issue, and those are not drafted by idiots. Those were drafted, the policies are drafted by people with knowledge, people who are intelligent, people who have exposure, people who have experience, people who can do, people who have delivered. So you must get, I mean, these are not the people who came before people and got elected, but they were behind the scene, feeding to prepare these policies and proposals. I think they should come forward and help the government, assist the government, tell the Minister of Finance, tell the Minister of Power tell the Minister of Energy, tell them how to resolve this problem. I think I would like to invite them to come back to the fold and support whoever they wanted to support to deliver and resolve this issue that the country has faced.
Mismanagement, not being able to foresee, a lack of planning. When you voted for the 20th Amendment, did you not foresee this situation?
Well, at that time, we go back to the era prior to 2019. Everyone thought this government, because it was a two-party government, and there was no one who could take decisions. People wanted a leader, a government that could take decisions. People wanted a Vadakarana Ratak. They wanted a Vadakarana Kenik. So that was the expectation of the people. And after the government, after the president was elected, then then the story again was, well, he's elected, but he doesn't have the arm, he doesn't have the authority, he doesn't have the power. That is why he is lagging behind, and that is why he can't take decisions. That is why he can't remove certain individuals. That is why he can't get rid of certain people because they are elected. That was the story. So we thought all what we could do as elected members, people's expectation is to give whatever
was
the
it
power.
a hard sell to convince the likes of you to have come forward and supported them in their quest for power?
The people, when that was the pulse of the people, that was the requirement of the people, that was the expectation of the people, that is what the people wanted from us. So we thought, okay, let's give that power also. Create an executive president who's almighty powerful. People wanted a delivery man. People wanted decisions to be taken. People wanted this country to move forward. People wanted development. So all that was given. It is, I mean, a lot of people like you ask us as to why we voted.
Yes.
But that was the cry of the era, the time. But unfortunately, none of our expectations are being materialized the way we all expected, we must admit.
And on that note, let's go for a short break and take a peek at this evening's headlines. We'll be back after this short interlude.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
TV1 රැස්වීදෙන ජීවිතේ.
Fuel shortage aggravates power cuts.
කොළඹිදන් ගාවේ කොළඹිදන් බෙදටට එක තරකවත් නැහැ තෙල් ටිකක් ගාගන්න. ඩීසල් නැහැ. එනවා කන්දේ ඊළඟ පාර.
පිස්සු වැඩ කරන්න එපා කියන්නේ දෙනවනම් දෙන්න කරන්න පුළුවන් දෙයක් කරන්න.
අපි හෙට ඉඳලා පස් තමයි කන්නනේ මේ පොලේ.
Long queues for diesel.
ලංකාවේ දෙට්ටකේ තෙල් ගහන්න ඇවිල්ලා පොලිමේ ඉඳලා බත් කට කන්න නෙමෙයි ඈ. ඕ.
Government rolls out allowance for farmers.
පසුගිය මහකන්නේ වගා කරපු ගොවීන් ලක්ෂ 11ක් හෙක්ටයාර් ලක්ෂ 8ක් සඳහා ගෙවීමට අපි තීන්දුව කරා මුදල් ගෙවීම.
Fertilizer to be imported for the Yalla season. Homeless family on the banks of the Verali. Vladimir Putin stripped of Taekwondo black belt.
TV1 රැස්වීදෙන ජීවිතේ.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shauketaly.
And welcome back to Newsline Live. I'm in conversation with the former Minister of Petroleum, Mr. Chandima Wirakodi, MP, of course. Now then, so you gave us a pretty good idea to invite the Minister of Finance, to invite the leader of the opposition, to invite Mr. Anukumar Dissanayake or his representative, whichever, and to ask them each to give the country 10 instant solutions to at least to solve the dollar crisis. And then the people, of course, can make their own mind up to see whether these three are saying things that are possible or whether they're implausible. Now then, in the meantime, do you think that, that this is all down to poor thinking? Because the government apparently are completely at sea now. They're not able to solve the dollar crisis. The country is, they talk about a 4-day week. The queues along the petrol station, at every single one that I've seen, you get all these queues. So honestly, is this the vistas of prosperity and splendor?
The policies that were formulated and the proposals submitted before the people looked very attractive. These are designed, prepared by people who are practical, knowledgeable, who knew that it could be implemented. But unfortunately, that is why people are not fools. They didn't look at the faces and voted. They looked at the policies and they thought these policies could be implemented, which will take the country forward. But I don't see such being delivered. So this, probably the issue is with the people who have undertaken to deliver.
But in the Ukraine, we have the president who's under siege. But he started off as a lawyer. Then he went into drama, and all that. Became an actor, and now he became the president of Ukraine. Is that what you're suggesting we do? Just go and get a joker out there? Will a joker work? Because we've looked at people who are politicians.
Now you can see what has happened to Ukraine. They are now, not only that he's ruined himself, not only that he's ruined the country, but he's now become an agent of various other people who wants whatever of theirs done. Finally, that small country is being devastated.
And divided.
Divided, and very unexpected situation is arising there, or has arisen there, and the entire world is now into a deep trouble. So that, I think, as a result of being short-sightedness, I think we should not conduct ourselves and affairs the way he behaved over there.
So the power cut is going to carry on?
That's what we understand now. From tomorrow it's going to be over 7.5 hours a day.
Yeah.
So we have only 24 hours and 8 hours of working.
Yeah.
So if 7.5 hours a day is without electricity in a country where 8 hours is the usual working hours, it's going to hit our economy. It's going to hit our private lives.
Yeah.
It's going to hit our manufacturing. It's going to hit our administration. It basically is going to hit everything in this country if it continues.
Are you familiar? I'm sure you are, but let me ask the question. Are you familiar with Article 12 of Sri Lanka's Constitution?
Yes.
Right. So that's equality.
Yeah. How can there be equality
when certain areas like Colombo, Miriana and Madivilla were exempted from power cuts? How was that fair play?
Yeah, not only that. Now, those who can afford, they can have generators. They can, certain people in certain areas can, be without power cuts. And on the other hand, certain people who are who are rich, who can afford, they can have their own generator, so they will not be affected. But it is the majority of the poor people who will have all the issues, who will have poor, powerless people of this country will only suffer. As you say, whatever is guaranteed under Article 12 is not.
It's equality, but
yeah.
so it's fair play.
Yeah, it's not being guaranteed as of now as a result of the power cut. I can't dispute that, not deny that as a lawyer.
But also, as a lawyer, we have corporate Sri Lanka who are up in arms. Now, Sri Lanka is obviously not only made up of farmers, right, and striking students or whatever, but there's more to Sri Lankan life than just those two things. And therefore, you have a situation where companies who've made over 2 billion rupees in profits in the last tax year, who have paid their top corporate at 24%, they've paid 14% on the dividend as dividend tax, and now, having distributed the balance money, invested it to grow the companies, invested it in people, now they're being told, hello, excuse me, we need you to pay us 25% of those previous profits. Now that, to me, sounds terribly unequal.
Well, like who generated profits, they generated due to their efficiency.
Yeah.
So you must reward efficiency, then only the country can move forward, because country's private sector is considered the engine of growth, engine of its economy. So if you appreciate performing private sector, only they will want to perform more, and at the same time leave aside the companies that in some way afford. But what about the poor EPF holder, pension fund member? They are helpless. I mean, it is their money that is there in such funds, but they don't have even a representative to manage such funds, and arbitrarily, if their funds are taken off, again.
But one other thing comes into mind. Now then, you know, we had the Palinista government. They had the bond scam. Then there was a report put out by the Presidential Commission, you know, given to the President. But straight away there were claims that 106 pages were somehow not made available to, including to Parliament. And Sri Lanka's contemporary history is littered with that kind of anomaly. We have this business about, oh, let's tax these companies. The banks are making so much money, but none of these who are promoting the cause of that are actually looking at to see how much, for example, how much of assets is employed by the banks to make these profits. And on top of all that, they're being asked to pay 25% surcharge tax. It appears to be that Sri Lanka is moving from one authoritarian regime to another, and we are now in the third such thing. Do you detect the same kind of thing? Are you a bit despondent?
Yeah, well, I think as a country what we need is an environment that is suitable for investment. What is an environment that is suitable for investment? That is where the laws are fair to everyone. An environment where transparency is guaranteed, where rights are guaranteed, where tax structure is firm and clear and logical. But unfortunately, in this country, we don't see that happening. So in such circumstances, though we just talk about investment coming in, So as governments, as politicians, as ministers, however much we invite investors, do you think that they will consider coming into a country where they know that they are not treated in a fair manner, where the existing investment is not being treated in a fair
Because they want
manner?
security of their investment, they want equality and fair play,
Yeah.
and
which is
stability of policy.
So what is most important now is to ensure those.
Chanima Virakuri, thank you very much. It's now time for the prime time news from the News First team there. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of the week. Thank you for watching, to everyone from all over the world, in fact, as well. And as always, God bless each and every one of you.
Thank you very much for inviting.